The hour is late and we are pretty much ready for the final showdown in order to declare war on the vile enemy that is Burgundy. Cannot see how many units they have, so it's going to be quite rough. I've got 11 days before I have to declare war. I'm going to stretch it out for as long as I can. On the off chance I can pump these dudes out fairly soon-ish. We have 9% on them. And here it is, the moment of truth. Actually, what? They annexed all of it? Okay, sure. Regardless, we are ready for war. In fact, look at this cute little encirclement that we're about to make happen. Oh wait, we can call in our allies? How cute. Even Pakistan. That's a full-on war. Then after we're done with this, I'll put our dudes up here. Tell them to be very aggressive in their assault. Once the encirclement has been finished. Oh, and the Netherlands, I forgot they were also a part of this. It's a shame we cannot do anything about Ostland or have this guy give us their troops. Actually, they are willing to give me their troops. If they can get there, all the better. I mean, we are moving into Burgundian land too. Oh yeah, they're moving, my dudes. I'm not gonna start a nuclear war, I think. We're getting into Burgundian land finally. Oh, there we go. I can pump these dudes out. Jeez, that took a little bit longer than I expected. Actually, we barely have any equipment for the airplanes, so maybe regular infantry is just fine. Can't I see these units? They're hidden. Regardless, we're pushing into the enemy's lands. Burgundy is falling now. I mean, so are we, but we finally managed to push back. Slowly. I'd love to do a nuclear war, but I think, no. We'll all just fall apart. The Netherlands are also coming back. That's very good. This war hasn't popped off yet. No. It's only Oranjestad-Burgund that's a major. Okay, so we should be fine. Go to Rijssel. Take everything, man. I thought that was our peace deal, but no, not yet. We got it. We got their capital. Is that it? No. They got something back, or something gave them more VP powers. I'm thinking they got more less surrender progress. Oh, they did get Rijssel back, so you know that definitely doesn't help. Is this it? This might be it. We have defeated them. Heinrich Himmler wasn't so impressive as Heydrich remembered. Not with his lip split, uniform disheveled, and glasses missing. Beady eyes glared up from that pudgy face with hate, tempered by the trembling of abject fear. Reinhard, what have you done? Came the quivering voice, weak and nasal. This is betrayal. Is the end of us our undoing? It stammered and cracked like a nervous, pubescent boy. The god of Zion will rule forever. The Mongoloid face contorted in the throes of a mad ideological raving, cornered and in denial of its fate. Your wife, your daughters, will be whores, breeding sows for. Heinrich's fist lashed out to interrupt the Reichsführer's venomous words before they could sully his ears further. He felt his rage boiling over for the first time in years, washed away all inhibitions in a red wave. What for, he simply asked. You brought us to this point, Heinrich. You made the Reich what it is. You halted our mission. We had the world in our grasp, and you stole it away. He struck Himmler again, eliciting a flow of blood from his nostrils. Himmler's eyes bulged in deranged fury. It was your fault, you. If you'd followed orders, but you wouldn't, would you? White Moses. They were right to call you that, a Jew in human skin. That's all you ever were. The arch-infiltrator. Zion's youngest elder. The Cain of an entire civilization. He jerked and thrashed within his restraints, spittle flying from his bloody lip with every hateful word. Heydrich had come for answers, but whatever was left of the Reichsführer's deranged mind was too far gone to give him. No, Himmler. You destroyed our vision. You betrayed Hitler and our people. I've corrected the order of things, and now it will be as it always should be have. I only ever did what I had to do, Himmler screamed. Heinrich unbuckled his holster and drew forth the sleek black Luger, always at his side, and tumbled the safety off. As did I. One final shot. Himmler is no more. Now we have a war goal on Antarctica. Well, I don't know if I'll ever use that, but whew, we've done it. We have cut down the hateful beast, and all that remains is us. It was done. Heydrich almost couldn't believe it. The invincible shadow state laid low by a coalition of willing, and it had been he who had led them to victory. He, Reinhard Heydrich, the butcher of Prague, the blonde beast, and the man with the iron heart, whom nobody ever expected to rule, yet rule he did, from North Paris to Galicia, from Schleswig-Holstein to the Alps. It was his. That was what they claimed in taverns and SS barracks across the Reich, and it was what the new map in his office affirmed, but he knew it wasn't so. Loyalty was a dead concept. Nobody who had served in his coalition was loyal to him personally, as they would have been to Hitler. Nobody really wanted him to rule, even after defeating Himmler. Those who had the decency to serve the Reich rather than themselves were dead or scattered to the winds by his hand, thanks to his past servitude to Himmler. He thought of Speer and the paternal love Hitler had borne for him, of Bormann and his mastery of politics, of Göring and his unwavering popularity. He could not command anything useful or admirable. Hitler had liked him for his ruthlessness, but it was that very trait that had led him into Himmler's clutches. If he'd just picked a side earlier, spared himself and the Reich all those years of disgrace and turmoil, yes, it all came down to him, his indecision, his weakness, and his mistake. And now, all the good left in him had been forsaken in the name of destroying Himmler. Loyalty, honor, and principle, all sacrificed on the altar of victory. He could only stare across the rebuilding cityscape of Germania as hope and pride continued to drain from his soul, pouring out into the night sky. He was empty. Silke and Marte were never inside the Führer's office, not even when Heydrich brought them to Berlin as children. Hitler had only ever been met briefly at Berchtesgaden, and once at their estate after Klaus died. Now, there they sat, daughters of the Führer, the most powerful man on earth. Yes, yet it has been a disappointing trip. Always distant yet overbearing. Now their father wanted to see them. He hadn't been so interested when they needed his investment the most. Silke, Marte, he said, breaking several minutes' silence. He was uncharacteristically soft-spoken all of a sudden. I know that the circumstances of the nation have not always permitted it, but I hope you are both aware how much I care for both of you. Now that the traitors are defeated, you can look forward to rich and happy lives. Yes, father, muttered Marte, deferential as ever. Silke was less so. We have rich and happy lives already, no thanks to you. We're grown women, not little girls. Don't talk to us like that, if you please. For a moment, it looked as though Heydrich might rise from his desk and say something vicious, but instead his shoulders just slumped. For a moment he looked confused, or perhaps sad. It was hard to tell, but it was certainly an expression his daughters couldn't remember seeing on their father's face at any point. Sorry, he finally said. He looked away, at the window. I'm sure you understand how parents must think. Now, as to the future. When are you going to do something about our damned rights? Demanded Silke. Speer's lot were right. Maybe Ada Göring was happy with servitude, but we're not. Heydrich frowned. You know those ideas are not permissible. Speaking as your father and Führer both, I must maintain the ideal of... Silke stood, without a word, and departed before he could finish. With an apologetic glance, Marta followed, leaving Heydrich alone in his office once more. Where did that go wrong? Well, probably start with the womb, where you came out of. I'm not sure how I feel about the redemption arc of Heydrich. Can't just paste an oopsie-doopsie on everything he's done so far and be like, yeah, but I'm a changed man now. Heydrich heard someone pick up the receiver on the other end of the line. At long last, it had been too long since he had spoken to Heide, a mistake he would now rectify. As his son and heir, it was only right that Heide finally began to assume both honors and burdens befitting his status, just like Josiah's son with the kind. Now there was a fine example. A little politically disengaged perhaps, but an admirable young Aryan nonetheless. Heydrich residence, came a weary voice from the receiver. Heide, my boy. Heydrich put on his best fatherly airs. Good morning. Click. No hesitation. Dejected, Heydrich dropped the receiver back onto its hook, resisting the sudden urge to fling it against the wall. Stupid boy. Stubborn as ever. Still clinging to the ideas his father had fought so hard to extinguish in the Civil War. Maybe a term in the thought froze midway throughout formation. What was he thinking? Heide was his blood, his progeny. Blood was what mattered above all. It defined race, nation, and heritage. Without ties of blood, what more was there? But still, Heide was his child, deserving of discipline. So what if he resented his father? He had to learn, like any other recalcitrant citizen. That was the ideal which Himmler's ideals. Not his, not Germany's, not Himmler's. Himmler's. Words and thoughts of a traitor. An uncomfortable thought began to dawn on Heydrich as a cold sensation spread down his spine. No. Lena's hair was graying like her husband's, but still he remained enraptured by her beauty. They reclined together on the couch in the Führer's private lounge in the Reich's chancellery, quietly conversing as the sun set on Germania. It doesn't feel real, you know, Lena murmured, looking up at Heinrich from her place in his arms. That all this chaos is finally over. We finally have the good old days back, Reinhard. Heinrich just continued to stare over her, out the window. Reinhard, are you listening? He shook himself out of his reverie and looked down into his wife's eyes, slightly dazed. Sorry, Lena, Well, yes, you're right. It doesn't feel real. I never thought it would end how it did, having to fight my brothers in another damned war. And now, you can make Germany into what it should be, she replied with a smile. All those ideas you've been dwelling on, trying to get people to listen for years. You can make them the law now. You could do anything you wanted. No more of that pig Bormann steering things off-road. I'll miss the servants, though. Slaves, he corrected. Yes, whatever you call them. It's just so convenient, especially once we get rid of the Jews and took Jehovah's Witnesses instead. I felt so much safer with them around. Never would have liked our boys growing up around those dark-eyed vermin. Heinrich had thoughts, many thoughts, but kept them to himself. No sense in bothering Lena with uncertainties now. Let her enjoy the comfort of a self-assured life. She would need the memories come darker days. Glancing down at her relaxed face, soft features concealed venom and honey alike. He ran his fingers through her graying hair and whispered gently, I love you, Lena. Not much of a victory, huh? Klaus hadn't died because of the Jews. Heinrich thought as he knelt before his son's grave, the cold drizzle slowly dampening his SS uniform. He hadn't died because of Bolshevism. He died because he was a child who didn't understand safety. He died because he rode his bicycle onto the road too quickly for a German Aryan truck driver, to stop in time. At the time, Heinrich still had been Reichsprotector, working overtime in Prague to make sure that there was nothing left in the Czech resistance. What if he'd been there? It seemed to him that the first and foremost duty of the Aryan man was to protect his family. At least, that was what was most important traditional value. One's bloodline was the basis of race and its continuation, wasn't it? Instead, he'd been so far away enforcing Himmler's orders by ensuring the total destruction of the Czech national consciousness. Was that the right thing to do at the time? He hadn't really thought about it. In hindsight, that would depend on how compromised Himmler's vision had been. If he'd been disloyal to Hitler even then. Heinrich shivered and drew his coat tighter around him. The thought wasn't bearable, pushing it aside. He tried his best to think of only his son, and the 10 years, happy years he'd given them. But he did not succeed. Well, in the meantime, stabilize this. Send down some help for the Colombians. Anyway, the lists Heinrich had requested on his desk sat in a neat stack. The size alone had been enough for him to never even bother looking at them. Too many dead Germans, dead Aryans, dead by his order, men, women, children, his enemies, and families alike. The Jews hadn't done that. He had. The question had been answered. What did that imply? Heinrich didn't want to know. There was no escaping it. Empirically, much of what was once certain in the world was certain no longer. Two of the most devastating conflicts in German history had been caused by Aryan hands, Aryan minds, and Aryan politicking. The Führer suddenly shot upright as through electrified. No. That would be the end of it. The end of all. Nothing would matter anymore after that. No, not an error, not a mistake. It was a lie. What next then? Heinrich was silent for a moment. I'm not certain, Gille. The situation is tenuous. Victor's euphoria will burn out soon. Beyond that, my Führer, we shall do what we must, as we always have. What's one more civil war? It's all for a good cause in the end. If this last war wasn't enough to cow the traitors once and for all, we can just try again. It's never failed us before. Hasn't it? Heinrich's voice took on a bitter tone. Wouldn't it have been better if Aryans didn't shed each other's blood twice over already? If we just what, my Führer? Just talked? That was never going to happen. Blood and iron, that's our way. The destiny of the German race is forged in the fires of war and nowhere else. Whether it takes on one war or 1,000, we'll never change that, God willing. Then I fear for the future. Lena, he slurred, slumped over his desk. Lena, I've made so many. God, I just... Throwing himself back into his chair, he raised the ball and guzzled down another mouthful. Fucking Himmler. There was a moment's pause, then a sudden turmoil within him. Heinrich had about 2 seconds notice before he vomited loudly and painfully, doubling over and splattering violent alcohol over his desk. He passed out thinking of what might have been of a naval life, or a life in the Luftwaffe, or a world where he'd rejected Lena's notion of working for a new upstart political party, of a peaceful retirement that he could have taken years ago. But when he awoke, it was from a distorted torrent of nightmares and could-have-beens. He dragged himself to the bathroom to stand, filthy and shameful, before the mirror. Staring back at him, he saw Reinhard Heydrich for what he truly was. The last traitor. Dearest Lena, by the time you read this, it will have become clear to you that the Reich you knew is no more. The very tenets of National Socialism, upon which our nation is built, have failed us. There is only one more barrier preventing the truth from becoming known to all, and I intend to remove it. It will not be an easy thing for you to bear, but I implore you to forge ahead regardless of how difficult life becomes. Our children will stand with you. Of this, I am certain. Now that all else is uncertain, family is all we have left. Ensure that our children receive this message. I especially wish for you to pass my unconditional love to Heide, whom I have failed more profoundly than any other man. And to think of Klaus, taken from us because I was not there to protect him. There's one more thing which I expressed here to you alone. Himmler was not a true traitor. I am. Himmler betrayed us all and would have damned the world to hell of nuclear Armageddon. But my betrayal runs far deeper. For by waging of civil war upon fellow Germans have I exposed the futility and failures of all that Hitler built. Had I chosen ignorance, I might have avoided this, but I could not do so. All I ever wanted to do was to serve faithfully. But that which I was loyal to is a house of mirrors built upon sand. Tell our children that I love them, and that their father died doing the right thing, now and forever. Love you, Heydrich. Set his pen down, exhaled slowly as his hand moved to the polished Luger before him. There was only one more mistake to correct, and then God's tune would come to an end. Auf Wiedersehen. With that, the final traitor has been killed, and the seat is empty, only for the Civil War once again to pop out. Damn though, okay. Motherfucker just destroyed all of Germany and then killed himself. Okay. That was rough though. I really like the writing. They gave Heydrich like a very human touch, where most likely there is barely one. Well, no, that's not true. A lot of fucked up people, war criminals alike, who were real human beings and had like normal human lives. They just compartmentalized that and their work life, which was being a war criminal, I guess. And to them, it was almost like playing two sides, like being an actor almost. But yeah, at least in the end, Heydrich did the good thing and killed himself. It's just a shame that Germany fell apart after all this time. But regardless, that is pretty much it for this campaign, I think. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you did. Hopefully I'll see you next time, and hopefully you have a nice day. Bye-bye.